Ever wonder what really goes on at a zoo? Today we'll chat with zookeeper Kevin Hils from the Bronx Zoo to get an inside look at zookeeping. Founded in 1895 as the New York Zoological Society, the Wildlife Conservation Society was the first conservation organization in the U.S. The society began with a clear mandate: advance wildlife conservation, promote the study of zoology, and create a first-class zoo. In fact, they have five: the Bronx Zoo, the Central Park Zoo, the Queens Zoo, the Prospect Park Zoo, and the New York Aquarium. So Kevin, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, so my name's Kevin Hils. I'm the collection manager of ornithology for the Wildlife Conservation Society's Bronx Zoo in Bronx, New York.
Have you worked at other zoos before working at WCS?
My career spanned 35 years that I've worked within AZA zoos across the country. Worked at Cincinnati Zoo, Columbus Zoo, an aquarium, worked at the Knoxville Zoo in Tennessee, worked at Cheehaw Wild Animal Park in Albany, Georgia, and now working at New York City Bronx Zoo.
Wow, that sounds like an incredible career. Can you give a little insight about what your department does?
Well, we have quite a huge collection of birds, a little bit over about 230 different species of birds that are incorporated within our collection, about 1,500 animals of feather variety that we take care of within our collection. So that incorporates three major buildings, of which we have a majority of our bird collections for folks to get a chance to see up close. Some of those are walkthrough exhibits, some of those are pass by, some of those are big exhibits like our flamingo ponds, where we have large flocks of birds.
With all those varieties of feathery friends, what are the typical tasks that you as a zookeeper in the bird department have to do on a daily basis?
I tell everybody is there is repetition because our animals need the basics every day of their life. So they need food, shelter, water, space, so that they have the ability to thrive and be the best birds that they can be.
Now I'd like to ask, what is your favorite part about being a zookeeper?
I enjoy feeding the animals because they get excited about that. But I think that the public up close to see what happens when one of them likes to come over and interact.
Do you have a good example of that interaction?
I tell you what, the hilarious one is we have a very large flight aviary. It's called the Aiken Aviary, designed to be the Argentine coastal system. And so there is just a monstrous colony of Inca terns. We number somewhere in the neighborhood of 70, 80 birds that have total free flight capability. And so they dive and bomb and steal from each other, which is what they do naturally in the wild. It's a very natural exhibit. Sometimes the birds, as they fly over, leave little deposits of white on people's shirts. And I love that because it's truly what means to be in the animal space. Being able to feed those up close in the public, seeing those birds diving, grabbing food, flying, moving, it's just a flash of color and feather, and it's pretty exciting to see in action.
So what I'd really like to know, was there a defining moment that made you realize that you wanted to go into the professional career of zookeeping?
This is just a theory that I grew up in. These animals have ways of making connections with people, and those connections become very real, especially with kids. When you're able to make connections with children, those connections stay with them for their life. I distinctly remember be probably 5 or 6, and my folks had taken me as a young man to Busch Gardens. And I remember distinctly Tommy Toucan was a Toko toucan that ended up jumping on my arm, and it was life changing.
I'm curious. Now that you're all grown up, What's one piece of advice that you often give youth who are interested in a career similar to yours?
Well, there's two different things. The first thing I always tell kids that are thinking of what they want to do, I tell them, do what you want to do. Don't let anybody tell you to do something differently. If you follow the things that you truly love, you'll be able to move as far as you want to. And then get your hands and read everything you possibly can. If you're an animal lover, get Ranger Rick's magazine, get books that have to do from international wildlife, get National Geographic, because knowledge is power and that will help you in the process.
Thanks, Kevin. That's a great segue into this next question. Here at AAAS, we have a book prize that happens every year. In 2019, one of our finalists was the book called What Do They Do with All That Poo by Jane Kurtz. So our question is, what do you do with all that poo at the Wildlife Conservation Society?
It is kind of amazing. We do have a very large recycling program at the zoo. A large amount of our poo, as you call it, is put into manure piles that we actually allow to do what it's supposed to do. And those manure piles get hot and they do all the things that need to do to break down the matter and turn it into really good mulch. And we use that regularly throughout the park.
So our final question that we have is, what has been the highlight of your career this far and why?
Well, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I've had a couple opportunities already to be in Bolivia with folks that do work in the field, banding with baby flamingos, and they're aware of the conservation issues that are happening with those animals, and they're following the history of these animals over the years with banding programs. And those kinds of opportunities happen where you're able to put the pieces together. When you work with a Chilean flamingo colony at the zoo and then you see what's going on, it's exciting because you see the behaviors of your birds being exhibited in the wild, and you're paying attention to those kinds of things. And those are real, and it's exciting. So I get a chance to work with animals every day of my life, and that's an amazing job. Hi, this is Kevin. I'm at the Bronx Zoo. We're in the Aiken Aviary, and we're going to have some fun feeding some of the birds. You might even see a penguin in there too. There they are, eating a little bit of everything. Have a great day.